Welcome back to part 3 of Death End Request 2, where after our first shaky night we returned back to our bed. Morning, Mai! Rotty, looking well rested and spry, came into the room to wake me.
What's the matter? You got bags under your eyes.
Couldn't sleep.
Why not?
I contemplated telling her about last night, about the monster chasing after Vina, but my mind felt so foggy I began to doubt if it was real. I had no confidence if it was just true or just a dream. Most of all, I couldn't stop thinking about Sanae. Call it guilt for breaking curfew and sneaking out of the room, but I decided to lie to Rotty.
It's Sanae, isn't it? My mom and the head maid said they don't know her, If only we could see the class roster.
Where is it?
Whoa, scared me. I hear it's archived somewhere in town. But since those are confidential records, we can't just waltz in. I mean, I don't even know where they're kept.
It was worth looking into. I know, Rotty. How's Vina? As soon as she heard her name, Rotty turned forlorn.
You heard about Vina?
Huh?
I wanted to deliver the news when you woke up, but she went missing last night. Apparently her roommate, Pick, noticed that she slipped out sometime last night. The front entrance was unlocked too, so someone must have opened it in the middle of the night. Had to be her.
That all but confirmed that I hadn't dreamt last night. I lowered my head as I slouched. Maybe I had abandoned her in the middle of when she was being chased.
Are you okay, Mai? Want me to let you rest if you're feeling ill? I'll tell the others.
No, I'll get up. And now we're back into our routine. Yes, it is a routine, so get used to it. You spend the day talking to people around the orphanage or the dormitory, and then you spend the night exploring the town. Mai, Rotty, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hey. We were approached by a girl who had a calm tone in her voice. We stopped. Her smile was full of peace as she offered her right hand to me. Hello, I'm Betty Paris. Nice to meet you. You might know this, but my name is Mai Toyama. I took her hand. Betty's smile seemed to grow slightly and she nodded. Yes, I've heard about you. How are you? Have you gotten used to living in this place yet? Sorta. Good, I'm glad. I bet having Rotty by your side has been very helpful too. Rotty seemed happy to be acknowledged for that reason, so she smiled.
Yeah, Mai has me. She'll be okay. She always will be. Forever.
Rotty, you know, I can't just have you follow me around forever. That would be annoying.
Mai won't accept my love.
You two are really close, huh? Well, if there's anything you need help with ever, you just call on me, okay? I'm the oldest one here, after all. Ah, I see. Thank you. The good to you too, Rotty. If you're ever in a bind, you can always reach out to me.
Of course. Thank you for offering that.
It's not just with me, is it? It seems like she's like this with everyone. I was about to be annoyed that she approached me just because I was a new person here, but I think it's just part of her personality. Betty's eyebrows furrowed a little bit when she noticed I was staring at her. Her eyes soon changed and appeared to be filled with compassion. I don't know what the circumstances were for you to be sent here, but I want you to know that you don't have to keep your guard up. The children here, everyone's experienced hurt in one way or another. I'm sure everyone would offer you help in any way they could. Yeah, thank you. That wasn't at the forefront of my mind, and I don't think I had my guard up. But for some reason, I felt like a burden had been lifted off my back. I was surprised. There's something I need to do here. I didn't really plan on making friends, but Betty's words began changing something in me.
Like Betty said, we're all here for you, Mai. Don't forget that I'm your biggest supporter, though, okay? No one will support you the way I do, so really, it's like I'm your only supporter.
Rotty, whenever I talk to you, you always contradict yourself.
Anyway, just know that I'm your biggest supporter, Mai.
Yeah, I got it. I dodged Rotty approaching me and just and a book was offered to me. Here you go. Manual for Elstrain. Yes, I'm certain Elstrain can save you. Betty's faith must be strong. Her eyes seemed to dilate, as if she was under the influence. I couldn't help but wince a little. Okay, sure, I'll give it a read. I never thought I'd actually read it, but I accepted her gift. The book was very worn, as if it was read quite often. A very happy smile could be seen on Betty's face. She turned around and walked away.
I'm getting so hungry. Come on, Mai, let's get out of here.
Betty is so... She seemed to be a very sweet girl, but as soon as Elstrain came up, her demeanour shifted completely. I wonder why. It's nothing. We're going to miss our meal if we linger anymore. Let's get going.
Better be careful with that book.
Yeah, I know. Elstrain will save you, huh? Something's off. I hope she won't become a nuisance. Moving straight on to the next, back to Abigail. Oh, hello to you all. I can't remember Abigail's voice. Good. Everyone seems to be getting along, I forgot how ditzy the RA of this dorm is. What was her name? Abigail. That came out from nowhere.
Hey, what's wrong? Why does your face look so scared?
That's... Did you just have an unpleasant thought? No, this is just how my face looks. Oh. Abigail looked confused for a moment, but she clearly looked at my face soon after. She began to nod as if she understood something. I'm glad you've been able to make friends. Mai, you seem like a good person. I must admit I was worried because you seemed to be so shy. I'm happy to know my worries were pointless. She was clearly smiling at Rotty.
Huh? What is it?
Aren't you glad, Mai? Oh, she's got muddled. Rotty was already surprised, and even a little more when Abigail said Mai again. I suppose everyone makes mistakes. Rotty was waving her hands around to try and clear things up.
No, I'm Rotty.
Oh, oops, so you're Mai. Abigail looks over to me. Yeah. My mistake, I'm sorry. That doesn't change the fact that I'm happy, though. You two be good now, okay? Without waiting for our response, she turned around and left. I don't understand, Abigail.
The RA's a little off sometimes.
That's putting it lightly. How could you be mistaken with someone new?
Don't be so sure, Mai. Of course, normally I'd agree with you, but this is Abigail we're talking about here.
Rossi's answer confused me. She seems to understand that Abigail is ditzy, but doesn't find her behaviour or status as RA to be odd. I see. Is she really fit to be an RA? I really wonder. It's probably best I keep that question to myself. Speaking of ditzy, though, meet one of the most ditzy. Mai! Ugh! Someone hugged me from behind, so I turned around.
You're not good at surprise attacks? Your reaction was so cute right now. I'm gonna do it too.
Don't be stupid.
You smell good, just like I thought.
I smelt it when you turned around right now. What scent is this?
Ugh.
She sniffed my neck and it tickled. I was writhing to get out of her grip and Rossi pulled me tight.
Hey, Victoria, you can't do that!
Being released from her hug, I finally was able to face Victoria. What is she thinking to just hug me from behind?
Oh, you took her away. I'm sad.
Even when I gave her a quick glare, Victoria was unfazed. Rather, she's just smiling.
Gosh, you have no boundaries.
According to Rossi, Victoria has a tendency to hug people as a form of hello. I don't think you need to hug to say hi.
I guess not. I didn't plan on it, but you smelled so good.
Is that so? No reaction. I don't know what to do. I couldn't hide my confusion and Rossi sighed for I don't even know how many times today.
Victoria's always like this. Don't worry. Well, I guess it's hard not to.
Right, I don't like being hugged out of the blue like she did.
Sorry about that. I'll be careful next time.
Victoria waved her hand as she lightly walked towards the end of the hall. She's a weirdo. Although I was surprised, I guess she didn't mean it badly, so oh well. I stared at Victoria walking off. There was a charm to her smile, the kind that invited others in. Look at fucking Rossi's face during all of that. She's like, what the fuck just happened? She's like, what was that? What are we just a part of? The hall was unusually rowdy.
What is it?
Let's check. To my surprise, Vina had been found. We were told that she was discovered inside of a shed alone. It was located in a dense thicket of forest, the kind where light cannot penetrate the shadows cast by tall trees. Her clothes had been shredded. When they found her, she was half naked and shivering on the floor of an old work shed.
What's going on?
Why, Vina? What's in there? I wonder what happened. I heard her clothes were all ripped. What an idiot. Call it karma. The students gathered before the infirmary, gossiping tidbits to one another in hushed voices. Excuse me, let me through.
Mai, Roddy.
Sorry, I just need to get through. Headmistress Midra, the school nurse Itsuka, and headmaid Shizu stood around Vina, who sat nervously on her cot. Soot covered her face, but it couldn't hide her terror. She shook violently, barely able to answer any of the nurse's questions. Vina, here, drink some water, drink up. She said nothing. Shizu and Midra exchanged worried glances and sighed. Vina, you broke curfew to venture into the forest last night. May I ask why?
I didn't! I wasn't the one who left!
Are you suggesting you were taken? The memory of her being attacked by the shadow crossed my mind. I imagined that she, too, was quite confused. But I persisted in my suspicions about this school, so I never thought to mention that I stuck out as well. Let's head back. I noticed a towel on the ground, so I bent over to pick it up. Above all, I was relieved to see that she had lived. But just as I was about to leave the infirmary with Rotty, Pubis is watching! Don't trust your eyes! Pubis is coming! Huh? Hey, what was that? Huh? Answer me, what did you say? Do you know? Answer me, damn it! What is Barbas? I lost myself in the moment. Next thing I knew, I grabbed a hold of Vena's shoulders and shook her. Sanaya mentioned Barbas in her last email. It was nonsense to me until now. Mai, stop it! Tell me! Split it out! You hear me? What is Barbas? When is it coming?
Mai!
Vena responded with a high-pitched scream, flailing out like a woman possessed. Then the maids rushed in to restrain her. They shoved me out of the room. Where is my sister? Return to your room! As I retaliated, Headmistress Midra slapped me across the face. I threw the towel in my hands to the ground and stormed away. I will only repeat myself once more. You are forbidden from leaving your rooms past midnight. Have I made myself clear?
Mai? Sorry about my mother. How's your cheek doing?
I'm fine. This is nothing compared to what that man used to do to me every night.
It must hurt to have to be so strong.
Sorry, I shouldn't have said anything. Let's drop it. Anyway. You really know nothing about Sanaya?
Yes, I wish you could believe me.
And about Barbas, too?
No clue.
Right.
Mai, I'll help you find what you're looking for. About Sanaya.
You'll sneak out into the confidential student records?
If we're caught, we'll be paddled 100 times. It won't be easy, but I'll help how I can.
Thanks. I guess first we'll need to know where they're stored. Anyway, how's Vena?
Fine, she's calmed a bit. Last I checked, she's sleeping in the infirmary. I'd like to talk, Mai. Can I sit on your bed?
You never bothered to wait for my answer. Even if I said no, you'd come in anyway.
True. Oh, your bed's so cozy. It's warm. Smells nice too, Mai.
So why do you want to sit on my bed?
Oh, sorry. Just wanted to chat. Headmistress. You haven't talked to her one-on-one yet, have you?
Nope.
Knew it. I wanted you to know more about her.
Rossi rested her forehead on my back before going at length about the headmistress. Disciplinarian or not, she seemed she invested thorough effort in endowment. The government had been less generous with their grants, so Midra worked hard to secure donations. She kept Wordsworth alive.
When I was younger, I was struck by a car in town. I blacked out, so I don't remember much, but I do remember her going around the middle of the night looking for a doctor. I wasn't in good shape. I was fighting for my life, so she ran to the church, pleading with them, "Please save my daughter." She prayed all night to Elstrain. 2 days later, I woke up. My mother slapped me, but then she broke down and held me tighter than ever. So I think when my mother hits you, it's just an expression of love. Harsh, I admit. I hope you don't take it too personally.
She's nothing like my parents. Guess she can't be too bad.
I'm proud to be her daughter. Lately, though, she's been acting strange. I think she's stressed about something. It scares me sometimes. With what happened to Vena, I'm starting to think the school really is haunted. The midnight curfew wasn't a thing until last year.
I see. That's odd. We'll come back to this tomorrow. I'm sleepy. I grabbed my alarm clock and showed its face to Rotti. Let's hit the sack before midnight.
Okay. Can I sleep here?
No, you'd fidget too much. You'd knock me out of my own bed.
Oh, really? Man, that's embarrassing.
Rotti hopped out of my bed and climbed into her own. Today I learned a little about the headmistress. But that shed no light on where Sanaya could be. I can't be picky. There's too many factors at play. I shut my eyes and went to sleep. I can't sleep. For some reason I was wide awake in bed. I glanced out my window, taking in the starless sky. Buildings in Leshiora cast shadows which loomed like beasts without moonlight. Then the body of a girl smashed into my window. She was covered in blood. I tried to make out her warped face. It was Vena! As Vena contorted face pressed against the glass, her eyes glared at me vengefully. Glare, 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 glare. But in the blink of an eye she disappeared. Outside my window, I could only see the starless sky and building shadows. What was that? An hallucination? I shot up from my bed and gazed around my room frantically. As per usual, Rosie slept awkwardly on her bed, not a care in the world. Her snoring is unbearable. I went over to the table for a drink of water and wiped the sweat from my brow. I took a look at the clock. 11:50 p.m? Early, but still late. She speaks to my soul. Looking at midnight, I'd be like, that's early. Huh. I heard someone speaking outside of my room. Who could be up this late? I opened the door to find no one, but I tiptoed to the stairs because I sensed someone. I took a peek downstairs, and it was Headmaid Shizu. She was dragging Vina, who seemed to be resisting as she was pulled through the front door. What's going on? So much for the curfew. I was almost midnight. I returned promptly to my room, changed my attire, and decided to follow them. I couldn't let Headmistress Midra or the maids catch me. Like before, I tiptoed down the hall. I needed to head downstairs to run after Vina, who was being dragged by the head maid. Just past this corner. A maid with a sunken face stood there, holding a knife.
Hey! What are you doing? Return to your room. Now.
Just then, the clock struck 12, which seemed to distract the maid long enough for her to dart away down the stairs.
What the hell? Why was she holding a knife? That girl.
The grandfather's clock chime echoed through the hall. It was midnight, but I was concerned for Vina. I decided to chase after the maid down the stairs. And thus begins the next night. We have an objective. The maid is heading north, which is the only path you can really take right now. The town itself will open up a lot more as we progress through the game. Wandering around in the middle of the night isn't normal. But for now, the only direction is to go north. Never mind about that. I need to focus on finding Vina. Vina seems like she's headed north again.
Oh, a save point.
It's going to be a difficulty for me to not say, oh, a save point when it pops up. It's because it's just the next line, because I usually wander towards a save point, because you're going to see me try very hard. I haven't recorded the whole game yet, so we'll see how well it goes, but I'm going to try very hard to not interrupt any of the dialogues that are done on the field. And the safest way to do that is to open up the map. Dialogue will continue if you're on the map screen and everything else pauses. If you just naturally actual pause, it will kill it though. And if you go into an encounter, it will kill it, and you won't get the dialogue back. They won't continue where they've left off after a fight sort of thing. Which is a bit annoying because there's a lot of most of it's flavor text, but there's a lot of moments that you get a much better understanding of how characters are and why they do what they do through it. Like through these texts, and there's actually a shit ton of optional text that you can completely miss and are likely to, unless you get the wise idea one day to go the wrong way deliberately. As we go through the game and we go through more chapters, eventually more areas of the town will unlock. Every time you start a new day, well, start a new evening to be more precise, deliberately go every wrong way you have available to you first, you will get extra dialogue. And it stands for the whole game. Every single new night there is new optional dialogue on the wrong paths. So, although it's going to be fine in this chapter, when more paths start opening up as soon as the next one, we're going to have to start doing a bit of... I'm going to have to start doing a bit of hard cutting, because otherwise it's going to be me just running all the way over there and then running all the way back. Well, I won't run back. You get warp stones pretty early in this, which is a nice improvement over the first game where it took you until like past the halfway point to get any kind of quick travel. In this, once you start unlocking a bit more areas, because it's all interconnected, they just give you the ability to warp from save points. You don't have the strain area to your access like you did in the first game. Like, you can't just press a button and warp wherever you want, so it's a little less convenient than how it was, but it just being tied to the save points I think is a close second. Like, it's good enough. Hopefully they can find a way to integrate the two if there's ever a third game or something. Because I liked how, like, immediate it was to just get around the place once you unlock the strain area. You literally just pressed a button wherever you was and you could just warp elsewhere. But this is fine too. But if you warp to the wrong locations, you might miss those dialogues. So I'll be running to those wrong locations every time they occur, and then just warping back because there's no extra when you come back. But we've just learnt a new skill. Different from the first game is that in the first game, the only way to learn new skills is once you cross certain level thresholds, you could do flash skills, which is where if you make a combo of attacks, there is a chance that you would learn a new attack by doing the right combo. That still exists in Death End 2, but to stop you getting insanely powerful super quickly, some skills can only be learnt by leveling. So you have to be a certain level to unlock more skills that can go into flash driving. So every time you learn a new skill by leveling, you should run it through the works and try and see how much you can learn from it. There are some amazing skills you can learn in this game. Nothing as broken as Celica's Aster-League. Like, Aster-League's still in this game, it's just nowhere near as brutal. Like, it's been nerfed to shit, but but it is still in this game. Additionally, every playable character has a passive ability that they're buggy, which are the little creatures following you around because they're returning from the first game, so I don't mind mentioning them by name. Buggies will give special abilities. In Mai's case, every time she finishes a turn, she gets a slight defense boost. It can't stack, it's just she will maintain a set defense boost after the first turn sort of thing, making her easier to keep around and alive, which for a starting character makes perfect sense because it's easing people in. I should probably talk about some of the other bits and pieces though, like the combat. Cursed bugs, or bug spots as they used to be known as, are back in this game too, and they have been altered significantly. In the original game, they would give you bonuses and buffs, but they would hurt you. Every time you touched one, it would hurt you significantly, so you had to balance out whether you wanted those buffs or not. In the sequel, they got rid of that. They will still give you the buffs, but they will not hurt you anymore, so you're free to just devour as many as you want. There's another mechanic tied to them, that which if you played the first game you already know, but because it hasn't been demonstrated to us yet, I won't mention it now. But there's another thing that's been altered with them that's very different. Like I said, a lot of this game's gameplay is a streamlined and outdated version of the first game, which I think is the perfect way to handle it, because I like the first game's gameplay. It was just a little rough around the edges, and this game does a lot to clean it up, to the point where I drastically prefer it over the first game. Oh, new enemy. Also get into a habit of every time there's a new enemy, tapping square first to analyze them. I don't think I do that here. No, I don't. But you, or don't do, I do, good. Because it will tell you what element they are, and if you switch display, it will tell you where their stats are, so you can work out if you should be using magic or physical, or whether you should be buffing your physical or magic defense to counter it. Something you will need to learn as it goes on. The reason why you want to pay attention to the elements is because yes, there is a weakness and strength system. It was in the first game too, but if you remember, my biggest criticism of it is that it wasn't always clear what was strong and what was weak to what. The second game cleans it up too. Underneath the skill, it will tell you exactly what element you should be using it against. So you can check the enemy, say, oh, they're that element, and then go use that skill. Mai is Mai is brilliant with star skills, but she is atrocious with sun skills and average with moon. That she has a preference towards star, so you just got to keep that in mind. Whatever the character preference is, whatever would defeat that skill, say since fire beats star, she's not going to learn many fire skills because of it. That's kind of how it works. It is basic rock paper scissors. There isn't 16 different elements or whatnot. There's only those 3. Also, creepy voice. Thanks for that game. I don't know, that specific load screen, there's just a demonic voice that plays throughout the load screen, so I kept it in because I was just like, what was the point of that? Early game, you don't have to worry too much about analysing the enemies. I just recommend getting into the habit of it now. But we have learnt our first moon skill, Cephalatia, which, just like in the first game, have annoying names. Unlike the first game though, although there's still a few examples of it, the enemies have easier to remember names. One of the things that annoyed me in the first game is that when it came to side questing, it'd say hunt 6 blah 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 blah, and you'd be like, I have no idea what that name is. You couldn't even vaguely work out what it was referring to. Whilst now, they've gone out of their way to try and, group up enemies. So it's if you see, a blob monster, which, jumping ahead a little bit, you're going to be seeing a blob monster in the next video. They're called a Gygus, and every other blob monster, if they get stronger variants or different versions, will be a Gygus of a different name. It'll be There's one called the Roberto Giygas, which of course I remember because my name's Robert. There's like a Savenza Giygas, things like that. It will keep a theming of the name, making the names easier to remember and just more standing out, which is appreciated because, like I said, in the first game there was none of that, and it became really annoying. Also, small detail with these computers that open up the which reveal walls. If you're speedrunning or have any desire to do so, you don't need to touch the computers to go through walls. If you know they're there in advance, you can get them. I keep this part of the encounter in because this is a demonstration of the flash drive going into effect. Through my experimentation, I learned Padagram Shift. Padagram Shift alters the all the curse bugs on the floor to a random different thing. So if you go into a fight and you're really not happy with what you can see in the bugs on the floor, it might be worth changing them, because you never know your luck. You might get one really terrible, you might get one really brilliant. For me personally, my ideal one is to get the rainbow curse spot, because rainbow curse spots can at random give you any buff. This is me showing what I mean. I haven't touched the computer, you can go straight through this wall though. I still go back and show it because I'm going to play along as the game intends, but if you know where the walls are in advance, you can just go through them. What doesn't help, and what kind of makes it... Well, I say doesn't help that gimmick, is the fact that you can see where the invisible walls appear on the minimap. There is a random tunnel that will be there on the minimap, and you'll be like, oh, there's probably something there, allowing you to work out where those paths are. But it's still good to get into the habit of it, because there's going to be other puzzles, gimmicks, and rewards for trying. Also, you might have noticed I've got a crap ton of weaponry and accessories that I'm not using. Just like in the first game, there is a crap ton of DLC for this, but because I got the Collector's Edition, I have all of it, because it just comes with the Collector's Edition. And so I am not touching any of it. I might show off some of it in post-game, because some of it is kind of cool and has some unique effects, like one of them like halves your defense but doubles your attack, making it more of like a berserker weapon. But it's still... No, I'm not a fan of touching the DLC stuff, because you might not have it when you play it. Especially if it's like the Leshiora hairpin. The Leshiora hairpin, that is one of the DLCs, gives you an insane amount of extra experience per encounter. Like, it nigh on triples it. Additionally, the DLC gives you 60 million gold. You are never, at any point of this game, going to need 60 million gold. In post-game, there is a weapon that's 22 million, but that's it. And that's post-game. So for that reason alone, I have been working my maths on it, because there's two DLCs that came with the Collector's Edition. One that gave you the 60 mil, and one that gave you 5,000. So I'm using 60 million 5,000 as my 0 point. I only spend the gold that keeps me above that number. If a purchase is going to put me below that number, I won't do it. So then I'm still working on 0. Just so then, once again, if you don't have those DLCs because you missed the Collector's Edition, or you're just not too keen on buying them, which is fair enough, you don't have to worry about me being able to buy things you can't afford yet. I'll only ever buy what I can get. What we'd realistically be able to get. And to be honest, I kind of prefer that. Like, I was originally going to intending on doing this entire game on hard mode, because there is a hard difficulty to this game, but this game's hard mode is not well balanced. It's not hideous, it's not like... It's not going to make you rip your hair out, but you're going to notice that a few fights you just lose and you have to deal with it, and you're like, oh, okay. And the reason why is because normal mode, when on my blind playthrough, I was breezing through normal mode up until the first major boss, and then I was like, oh, okay, never mind. Which I'll be demonstrating when I get to it. The first major boss actually has a severe difficulty spike. I see someone. That's someone that Maya sees. Well, we're going to be exploring that next part because this video is going on long enough. But we've still got a minute, so I can chit-chat a little bit. But yeah, back on topic. If you're like new to turn-based JRPGs, or just really not that good at them, there is no harm in lowering the difficulty to easy for this, because starting from the first major boss, which like I said, isn't for a while. It's not until chapter 3, I think. Like, it still isn't for a while. It doesn't change the fact that once it comes from that point onwards, the game is respectably tough. And some of the late game stuff really caught me by surprise at how difficult it is if you're not prepared for it. And the returning pain area, when I get to that, is a perfect example of what I mean. The pain area is brutal in this game. It's far worse than it was in the first one. Which means, yes, there's going to be like another montage of videos at the end of this project where it's me just grinding through that thing. It'll probably actually be more videos because it's that much harder and the fights go that much longer. And because I've always made a point of keeping in mandatory fights and every single fight in the pain area is mandatory, we're going to be there a while. I can imagine that being like 8 or 9 videos instead of just 5 like it was last time. But I'm going off topic here, so next time on Death End Request 2, we'll continue our search for Vina and hopefully find her before things get too much darker. But until then, you guys take care now. And I'll talk about more gameplay mechanics next time too, because I kind of got sidetracked, so whoops. Because we need to talk about knockbacks and things like that. Oh well, there's always next time. Until then though, cheers.